Luc, I suggest that we come to the next topic of this conference, which is open culture. And what I wanted to do, Luc, if that's okay with you, is I wanted to start with a small video that where our friend Phil Jordan of Sainsbury, who was supposed to be here, called into a board meeting. So we have him on a small video clip introducing the part on open culture. So let me share that and launch this.
Sainsbury's is a business that's made up of a number of cultures. I think it's born by acquisition, and we've put some bits and bobs together to make up a group of businesses. And like any group, I'm sure anybody watching this who works in a group context will know typically one culture doesn't pervade the whole business. But I think on the whole, we're a very customer-centric business. And I think because customer trends have accelerated so fast this year, I think there's a real ambition, collective ambition to drive change in the business, particularly I think customer facing, customer front end. We need to do more really to go end-to-end digital and really think about our back end. We have a very complex, multi-country supply chain, very complex international logistics, and there's more to do there. There's more to do there. But I think culturally, because customers are demanding change, I think culturally we're open to it, yeah, and we certainly invest. I mean, for a 2% margin business, is what we are. Which is, if you stop and think about a 2% margin, we invest heavily in technology, which I think is a testament to our ambition.
So let's talk about culture. So open culture is all about how can we create a digital mindset, and how can we create a culture for innovation and transformation. And Rudi, if I could start with you, because I still remember that we discussed that in the interview. How the hell can you change the culture of people so that they're more open-minded for all the digital transformation that companies are going through?
How many days do you have, Hendrik? Well, the culture, I think, and it's already mentioned, is the most important thing about it. That culture eats strategy with breakfast, they say. So you can have the best technology, the best strategy. If the mindset is not good, forget about the result. How we are doing things with culture is we're trying to give a lot of open classes, universities, information, communications. We work very much about collaboration and using collaboration tools, because collaboration is interaction, and interaction brings messages on the ground. We also focus on attitude and behavior, which is also part of culture. And I think we are implementing it with processes and technologies. For example, we are implementing Scaled Agile, SAFe, which is Biz DevOps, which also is related to culture. But we try to get away from functions and move to roles, and multiple roles. For one person can have multiple roles. A business guy can do IT things and vice versa. We have also a thing that we called red is the new green. We try to have continuously improvement. We have KPIs, we have dashboards, and we invite people to color red or orange when they think it's red or orange. It's not a blame to color red. So red is the new green. If everything is green, I start worrying, because then people are just checking the box, or we are not improving enough. So I think also these are all things about culture. What we quite often do is also bring some disruption in our company. So we change something, but we don't give the solution, and we let the organization find out a new way of handling with that issue, with that disruption. And at that way, we can also change culture. So there is a multitude of actions and things to do to change culture, because it's so difficult that you don't have the one miracle or one solution that fits it.
Yeah, if I understand it correctly, it's hard. You can't change people, but you can change the context where people are in, and so that they have a different environment and they can work in a different way.
And you would be surprised how easily people change or like to change, but what they don't want is you change them. So we try to change every time the context, and when you change the context, people start behaving differently. And then it's your challenge as a leader to focus on the good behavior and to try to stimulate that don't focus too much on the bad behavior. What gives attention grows, I always said. It's a biology term. So try to change context, but not change people. And I've never seen people having problems with changing, but I've seen a lot of people having problems when you try to change them.
Ángel, at Telefónica, how do you, I mean, big organization, how do you, step by step, what are the programs that you have implemented to create a more open culture, an open digital mindset?
Okay. Yes, in Telefónica, we always say that you cannot transform your business if you don't transform your people first. No? So for us, it's a must. And we have created a program that, as I said, was Reconnect, that we want to boost the engagement and the motivation of the people for changing. No? What we have done, we have two pillars that we have created. One is the empowered teams, and the other one is the growth mindset. Those empowered teams is more as agile organization as everybody is thinking of, and which is the main principle is just to down the level of the decisions in order that they give the responsibility of decisions at the people who has the knowledge, and not do it hierarchical decisions in order to lose time and money. So what we are doing, we are changing our organization in more a consultancy-oriented company in order to make the company by projects in order to achieve results. And as Rudi said, people is changing every time they are launching a new project. And we are creating the concept of staffing in order that the people doesn't belong to a determined box or box directly. So they are a pool of resources that we can use whatever is needed. No? And that's the first principle that I say empowered teams. The second, that is the ground mindset, is that we want to focus on innovation, and we have to find spaces where the company has to be reinvented. For example, as Phil Jordan said, logistics. Now we are changing the logistics way of doing things in Telefónica. We are introducing blockchain. Now blockchain is the infrastructure tool for doing the supply management thing in Telefónica. We have started with Brazil. Now we are doing it in Germany and then in Spain. So the people who is in the business of logistics, they have to know about blockchain. Otherwise, they are not going to be able to make their business. Or for example, in the control management area, in the past, there were financials that are explaining the things that has happened. So we have this is the result. We have increased, decreased because of this, because of that. Now they are asking to be more proactive and predict the future. Then, in this case, they need skills of big analytics, big data things in order to be able to create algorithms in order to predict which is the future with the data we give them. And that's the kind of examples. No? And for example, in the network, that is one of our core systems. Now the network is not going to be more hardware oriented; it's going to be software oriented. No, we are going to do in the softwareization of the network. So our engineers in network has to deal with the software life cycle in order to make the development of the virtual functions, to do the testing, to go to production. So they are a coding or programmer as others. So that is for us is a change in the ground mindset that the people has to be ready for making the change every time. And as you have heard many times, the technology is only 2 years valid. In the third year, you have to reinvent again, and you have to create a new technology. So in Telefónica, we have created a project that we call skill banking, and we have created a gap analysis between the ASIS, that what really are the skills of our company in this minute, which are the skills and which are the knowledge that we have, which are the skills that are going to be needed, so the to-be model, what are you need, blockchain, predictive analytics, in artificial intelligence, and then create the gap between the assets that we have and the to-be what we need. And then we can do, of course, training program. We are supporting with vendors, Red Hat, anyone, in order to give us training for cloud or for whatever. we are doing a lot of scholarship programs in order to incorporate young, fresh people to the company. We propose to contract them, and also do our reskilling process. So if a people has to change the skill, then do a reskilling thing in order to make the movement.
Yeah. Thank you, Ángel. Margaret, I would like and welcome back to the panel. Jumped out there for a moment. So on culture, I mean, you work in a technology company, so we all assume that this is a 100% digital company. Everybody's completely up to date on all of that. So is that correct? And how do you make sure that everybody follows in an organization and in a software organization?
Yeah, in terms of distributed workforce, we did have that benefit when we hit COVID, that it didn't feel that differently, because we do hire the best people wherever they are, and we already have what we would call an open culture. But I would say that it still takes a lot of work. The one thing that is core, and there's a lot of conversation in the chat that supports this, is an open culture can't just be the top leaders saying we're going to have a culture change, right? It doesn't work that way. What the leaders need to do, you can try that, but I can tell you it won't work. What the leaders can do is make sure that everyone has a shared vision that becomes what I call a rallying cry for the entire company. But you have to not just encourage, but appreciate the bottoms up input. So the only way you can drive that cultural change is that everybody has a voice. That the best ideas can come from anywhere, right? We talked about that earlier in terms of that open cultural thing. You know, it's kind of a meritocracy without the bad side of that. So it's highly transparent. So start thinking about it as a leader. Can you share more information? And one of the things that is kind of just the core of Red Hat culture or open culture is that absolute transparency, that anything you can share, you do. So information is not power, which is typical in a lot of companies that have kind of grown up in a hierarchical way. People in control, so to speak, have the information. In an open culture, everyone has the information, and that empowers them to make better decisions. Leaders are there to coach. They're not there to drive, so to speak, you know, or control something. And so it's very, very different. And I would say some of the most challenging organizations are governments, who have been, you know, by their very nature, are top down, or military. But I've seen huge cultural changes in governments and military organizations whose leaders choose to have more of a participatory, open, transparent culture.
Well, let's go to Italy. I mean, you're a public organization, Massimo. So, and let's also talk about the leadership impact that we've run. In the meantime, a poll. I'm just sharing the results of that, and the question was: does the leadership team in your organization have the necessary digital mindset that allows to create an open culture? So, is the leadership, do they have the mindset to create an open culture? And the 8% of the participants in the poll said not at all. 33% said not much. 37% said we're making good progress, and 23% claim that they are completely there with their executive team. So 50% they're making good progress out there. So that's not too bad. So in RAI, in your public media company, how is the culture change going, and what's the role of leadership in that?
So in RAI we have different company inside, because we have, for example, the journalist. Today for us it's very important. For example, data journalism is changing the approach for the news. The data is the core. I agree, the information is not the power. It's important to share the information, but it's important to manage the data to have good information. If the data is the core, is the business intelligence, the possibility to transform this data in information, it's important to have a convergence between human culture and technological culture. This is very, very difficult, because in Italy, if you study sociology, philosophy, you have a typical career. If you study engineering, mathematics, another career. And it seems that we have two different society, but now we have a good opportunity that we can support our C-level. I'm thinking, for example, the chief marketing officer, but also the chief financial officer, and so on, to upskilling their approach, because the data is the core of our digital company. Maybe we need a lot of time, because it's not easy to change the same people. It's the first time that the same people have to change a lot of time in his life, the approach in the company. But I am positive in this, because I see that all our sector can have good opportunity in this way.
Okay.
But excuse me, I think that the problem is not technological, but personal approach. It's important to be curious. For example, if you are curious, you can understand how the data can change your approach. It's important to be authentic, because I can keeping together professional aspect, personal aspect to support this C-level. But also is very, very important the communication. Only with communication, with a good storytelling, we can change the culture inside our company.
Okay, thank you so
Maybe
much.
if I...
Please go ahead, Rudi.
Yeah, what I would like to add is it's not only about attitudes and skills, but it's also about skills. So
Yes.
I think it's also very important that you give this kind of skill training to your staff. We do what we call digital maturity, and we measure it. So we have digital maturity lessons, classes, but we also have tests, and people have to follow the test and have to get to a minimum level of digital maturity. And the digital maturity, the definition for us is knowing our own mobile solutions, so what we offer to our customers, because everybody in the organization should know what kind of digital services we are offering. But it's also about what is possible with artificial intelligence. I already mentioned the KBC University class for the whole top 300 about what is possible and the basics of artificial intelligence. But it also has to do, as definition, with collaboration. How are you going to work with OneDrive, with OneNote, with Teams? How these things are working? So we want to also invest quite a lot on this maturity and skills. Also, I think one in the chat, I saw people saying, should it come bottom up or top down? I think it's both. It cannot come only top down. But what is important, if you want to do it also, what is important from top down, from us as leaders of managers, is walk the talk. Firstly, but also on the other hand, I already mentioned red is the new green. We want to have people very transparent in their scoring of their projects, about their progress and so on. And if somebody scored red, you don't hit them around the face, but your attitude should be, how can I help you? How can I help you to get it orange? Do you need my support? And these kind of stuff. So it's not only about mindset, it's about skills and about how you behave as a leader.
I love what you just said, Rudi, because so often the biggest change is leaders have to want to hear the truth, not what people think they want to hear. And that is, so if you're asking what can leaders do, stop, creating an environment where people are afraid to tell you the truth. So I love that you could look at red and say, great, let's figure out how to solve that together. That right there is open culture. And I would just add to your upskilling, I agree 100%. Everybody needs to feel like they have a role in this digital transformation. And there are a lot of skill sets that are evolving very quickly. And, I work a lot with operations leaders, and, you have guys, whether it was mainframes or, virtualization technologies that are changing so quickly. How do you make them the cool kids again, right? They're looking at developers going, I want to be, cool and working with these tools. So how does everyone feel like they're part of this? and get skills to really, participate and feel like they're getting something out of this and not feeling like they're being left behind, and that it's a huge issue. And I would just add one more point, and Hendrik, you won't be surprised that I bring this up, but is diversity.
There has been point.
I know. Well, it's like I can't not say it right now, because we've got to realize that to transform and to perform in different ways, if we're just hiring people just like us, we won't get there. This is the perfect opportunity for leaders to also show that a diverse and inclusive team and team of teams really does perform better. And I'm not just saying that as a woman. I mean, research will say this over and over again, that, bringing in those different perspectives allows people to feel like they can tell the truth, because everybody's just not, looking and talking and feeling the same. So I would say, in addition to skilling and changing the way you allow input, look at your people. Are you hiring a diverse population that represents your market and your customers? And are you allowing everyone to have a voice in that?
Yeah, big point here. Ángel, is that a strategy in Telefónica? That you make sure that you have diversity in background, ethnicity, and color, and gender, and education? How do you manage that?
Totally agree. In our company is women first in this moment. So any leadership position in this moment, the first, if you can find a woman to do it, they get the job. So it's that's the first step in order to close the gap between, because in our company, yes, we have a lot of women working with us, but not in the top executive positions. So I think I totally agree with what you have said, and also we don't have a problem regarding the different cultures, but as we are a multicultural company, so we don't get Latin American people, English people, whatever. So we are not suffering that as the gender thing that is
You need to have people from Argentina and Germany in the same room discussing things.
Yes. That is not an issue. So we have some issues with the language because not all people speak English fluently. So it's sometimes it's a barrier, no. But the way you tell the things in Latin American countries, as you know, you cannot be tough or rude in order to say things that we are doing in Spain or something like this. In English people, UK people are very, very polite and try to say no when they say yes, or on the contrary. And so it's a difference. You have to understand the way of working with them.
I now understand why Spanish and Italians conflict with each other. You just explained it. So you're being very polite, and Italians to me are always like, just say it like it is. So they're very different. Throw an Israeli in there for good measure, and then it will be lots of fun.
Okay, I'm watching the time here a little bit because time goes by quickly. I love the conversation, so thank you very much, everybody, for already what we have spoken. What I suggest, unless there's somebody still wants to chip in something on culture, that we move to the next topic.